Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, June the 15th, and this is the June council meeting. So we'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Please rise for the playing of the national anthem. So we do have regrets from Councillor Maybe this evening. We will begin with our land acknowledgement. With gratitude, the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands acknowledges these lands and waters are the traditional territory of the Algonquin, Mississaugas, Mohawk, and Huron-Wendat. To recognize the role the township must play in truth and reconciliation, we also acknowledge the displacement of these peoples. Additionally, the township would like to respectfully acknowledge the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people who also call this place home. We make this land acknowledgement to honor the Indigenous ancestors who have stewarded these lands and waters since time immemorial. So our first motion is a motion to adopt the agenda moved by Councillor Leclerc, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that the agenda be adopted as circulated. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. Any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Does anybody have an interest to declare? I have no hands up. So we'll move forward with the next item on the agenda, which is I'm out of, there's no closed session reporting out, no closed, but there is a public meeting. So our first public meeting is 8.1 zoning bylaw amendment application D14 2026-005 1 Lone Tree Island. This item is related to agenda item 13.1. Please see the item on the agenda for the pertinent documents and resolution. And I'll read the preamble. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the township's telecommunication tower protocol. That's not the right one. Nope. I'm like, pretty sure you're not putting a tower on Lone Tree. No. Sorry, we have stock ones, but she just handed me the wrong one. So personal information is collected at this meeting under the authority of the Municipal Act. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments are collected and form part of the minutes which are available to the public. Following a presentation by staff, the meeting will be opened to the public for comments and questions. When you speak, please provide your name and address for the recording in the minutes. All comments should be directed to myself, the chair of the meeting. The report being presented to the Committee of the Whole is being brought forward to allow for public input. Okay, so D14 2026 1 Lone Tree Island. So is there a representative who will speak to? So if you'd like to come forward to the podium. So we do have the presentation online and we'll share it for you, or if that works.
Yep, that's
Perfect. Just
Do I have to click anything on here?
there we go. Is the microphone on there, Mike? Okay, great. Thank you.
It does say join with computer audio. Do I need to click something?
No, you don't.
Just
So
ignore that.
the microphone, if you could actually switch the microphone. There we go. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
I was trying to get back to the first slide and messed up. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Tomlin. I am with the Boulevard Group and here representing for the zoning bylaw amendment and future site plan control for One Lone Tree Island, also known as Island 98J. Next slide, please. This is just a quick general overview of the subject property, what we're applying for, and the overall proposal is to permit a marine facility, including pedestrian bridge, to be up to 190 square meters. This is kind of just a quick view of where I should have highlighted probably where the island actually is, but it's a very tiny little parcel between the two there, big ones. I thought I did highlight it. Anyways, aerial view, the total lot area is about 0.04 hectares with a perimeter shoreline of 84.7. As you can see, next slide, never mind, I'll wait. Okay, just a bit of an overview of the actual island itself. I've provided some photos, or the property owner provided photos, but just some context. This is the south view. You can see that it's already developed and utilized accordingly. Next slide. The east view point, I've shown a little red dot just so you have an idea of your vantage point there. Again, already developed shoreline, somewhat developed, same thing, northeast view. Next slide. The east side, and then next, and the west. Okay.
Okay.
Just so for some general context there. Next slide. Oh, sorry, and that's the last view, I believe, the southwest. So you can see the existing structures that are already in place, which is a finger dock and a boat port. Next slide. This is the general site plan that's proposed where we are showing the two existing structures to be removed. And at the southern portion of the island, the proposed boathouse and pedestrian bridge proposed. So at this point in time, the total existing footprint of marine facilities is about 161.45 meters squared. Once removed, we're proposing to replace everything and consolidate into one cohesive structure that will comprise of approximately 187.7 meters squared. So there's a total footprint increase of 26.25 meters squared, give or take. This is just a general view to show the two that are going to be removed. Back to the site plan just for context. And next slide. This is the approximate location, give or take, where the boathouse is proposed. So it is more on the southern portion. And yeah, next slide. Here are the proposed elevations. As noted, the total footprint is 187.7 meters squared. The overall intent is to provide two internal docking points with a 5-meter length connection ramp from the shoreline in hopes of allowing for possible parking of watercrafts or vessels between the boathouse and the shoreline, as well as additional perimeter docking for visitor docking, or just recreational space.
It's all good. You still have to park the boat one way
Yeah.
or the other. It might be a dock, but it's still parking the boat.
Exactly.
We got it.
Okay. The proposed height from the top of the roof is about 5.23 meters, and then right to the very tip is 6.45. Next slide. This was just a quick, brief overview of the policies that were reviewed throughout the PPS. So overall, it continues to support the rural service levels, facilitates functional water dependent development while minimizing impacts on sensitive water features. And we feel it continues to protect the public health and safety by replacing and consolidating existing marine facilities on the site. Next slide. The official plan schedules showing where the site is located, since my earlier slide didn't do that, and what it's currently designated. So it's rural within the special policy area of the Thousand Islands and falls within a floodplain and within 120 meters of a provincially significant wetland. Next slide. Here I've shown the approximate distance, so give or take, we're kind of just on that perimeter of that 120 meter buffer from this wetlands. The conservation has been, blanking on the word, we've been in contact with them. They have no issues with this at this point. The official plan policies, general overview, we feel it is consistent / complies with the, all of them. We don't feel that there's going to be significant impacts in compatibility with the surrounding area. We feel it's an appropriate scale and design. The island is a water access only, so we need something that can store and allow for people to get there and safety. We did look at the special policy area where it replaces and consolidates existing marine infrastructure while maintaining the unique waterfront character and avoiding overdevelopment. And when it comes to water development and marine facilities, it's appropriately located within a physically suitable shoreline area and requires only a 1.8 meter shoreline attachment, preserving the majority of the shoreline from buildings while providing essential docking, storage, guest mooring, and emergency access for water access only property through the consolidation of existing marine infrastructure. As for the zoning, the existing zoning, I believe, is environmental protection. We're looking to rezone to a site specific just to permit the size of the boathouse. Currently, because the island is just of a smaller size, there's restrictions on the size that you can accommodate. So we're just looking for a bit of an adjustment to that. Again, the island is already developed, and yeah, we're looking to consolidate into one cohesive structure to really minimize that fragmentation of the shoreline. Overall, we feel it supports the continued use of existing island residential property, consolidates everything while maintaining waterfront character and the Thousand Islands sense of place, and minimizes environmental and shoreline impacts. Overall, we feel it is consistent with the provincial planning statement and official plan, and we feel approval of this zoning bylaw amendment constitutes good land use planning and should be approved.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. Council, do we have any questions for the presenter? Oh, go ahead.
Yes, and through you, just a question around the age of the existing non-compliant structures that are going to be removed. When were they constructed?
The finger dock, the finger dock is 50 feet long, sure in meters, was put in 2006. And the boat port itself was put in 2012.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Catlin.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Just for clarification, is the structure planned to be anchored into the bed of the river, or is it a floating structure?
No, it is going to be, there's 31 pilings that they have in the architectural drawing.
I thought that's what I thought I just saw. Thank you.
So just in case folks that might be listening in, it's going to be a permanent structure, not a floating structure. It's just because you're not at the microphone, not everybody who might be watching can hear that. So just last call to council for any comments or questions. Seeing none, I'll go to the audience. Are there any comments or questions from the public in the audience? I have no hands up. I'll ask the clerk if there's anybody online that might be interested in. If you are interested in commenting on this and you're online, please use the raise your hand function. I have no hands up. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
So that concludes that part of our public meeting. And so we move forward with auditor financial statements. So we have our auditor online. We have Katie Mahone from KPMG. Sorry, I almost said another another accounting firm by mistake. I apologize. And Katie's been here, and we're hoping that there's no power outage or anything else this year that might prevent her from giving her presentation. So I'll turn it over to you, Katie.
Thank you. Through you, your worship, I have 2 backups this year because it's been so ingrained in me from last year that I don't want it to ever happen again, that I made sure that I have 2 backups. So I think we're going to be safe.
Perfect.
I will ask a quick question. I do believe you have the presentation if you wanted me to share my screen and scroll through it, or if it was going to be up on the screen.
If you can share your screen and scroll through it, then you can do it at your own pace, if that's okay.
That would be great. Yep. All right, so just give me 1 second here. Alrighty, so I think that should be up on the screen there. So
We can see it.
again,
We're good.
Thank you everyone for having me here today to present the findings from the external audit for the fiscal year ended December 31, 2025. I'm going to walk through our audit findings report here up on the screen. I can maybe actually just make it a little bit larger for everyone. Starting with a quick introduction, my name is Katie Mahan. I am the lead audit engagement partner for the township's external audit. I have been I've been on the audit with the township auditors since KPMG took over as auditors. This is our 6th year. So I've been on the audit for a few years. And as I mentioned, we'll walk through the highlights from our audit findings report. So I'll just flip right open to page number 5, which is overall status of the audit. We did complete the audit earlier this calendar year in April. It went very smoothly. So I'll take a quick pause and say just a quick thank you to treasurer, deputy treasurer, all of the finance staff, all of the team, the township. Being able to go through the audit, I know, is an extra lift to the day-to-day roles and responsibilities. So appreciate all of the support to get through the audit. We did complete it relatively quickly, I would say, a pretty quick turnaround. And then we put together the final package and then have been waiting for council to present and get final approval. It was what I would classify as a very smooth audit process. And you'll certainly see that as a common theme as we go throughout the audit findings report here. In terms of what is left for the audit, so at the time we sent out the report, we had a few minor items to complete, call it more crossing the T's, dotting the I's, audit documentation on our side of things. That has now all been completed. So all we are left to do is to have the conversation here today, ultimate approval of the financial statements by council, and then we'll be able to finalize the financial statements and close the lid on fiscal 2025. Moving into updates from our prior year audit plan. So 2 of the more significant items that we always like to check in with each year are if there are any new accounting standards or audit standards. So to the extent there are any new accounting or audit standards, they typically do have an impact on our audit plan and therefore how we execute the audit. Since the COVID years, we've had a bit of a run of new standards come in. However, 2025, happy to say, no new accounting standards to adopt. So it was a relatively status quo year in terms of audit plan. There was a auditing standard that did come in. However, it was very minor, no significant impact to the township's audit or to our audit documentation. So in terms of standards, a bit of a easy breezy year to run through. I will just put a plug out for a little bit later on in the presentation. We will note of a future standard that's coming in for fiscal 2027 to keep an eye out in future years. In terms of materiality, so materiality is one of the more important audit concepts. We do not audit down to the dollar, down to the penny. We do set materiality based on guidelines that the Canadian auditing standards provide to us as auditors. So for a not-for-profit or public sector entity like yourself, anywhere from a 0.5 to 3% range of either total revenues or expenses is the guideline that is provided to us. You can see up on the screen there, we have set overall materiality at 400,000. It is an increase from last year's materiality of 375,000. And that is really a function of just overall volume and activity of the township increasing, because you can see we're still staying around kind of that 2.3, 2.4% mark. So right in that kind of mid to higher end of the range of the benchmark that's provided to us. We do set that based on our professional judgment in terms of the amount of audit entries, disagreements with management, control deficiencies we've noted in the past, of which we have not noted any. So we are able to go to that mid to high end of the range that is provided to us. I will make kind of two quick points before we move off the materiality screen. So the first one being that 400,000 is our overall materiality, or our aggregate materiality. The amount that we audit to is much lower than that. So that 400,000, that's the point at which we would no longer be able to say we issue a clean audit opinion. So if we had identified errors that accumulated up into that amount, that's that threshold there. The amount that we audit to is much smaller in nature. It's a straight calculation. So it's 5% of that 400,000. That's the number that, as we go through all of our testing, if we see any differences, we would bring it up. We bring it to management's attention and determine whether or not there needed to be corrections made. So just wanted to note that sometimes that dollar on its own seems quite large, but we do audit to that smaller posting threshold. The other item, just to flag, I typically just like to take a quick few seconds on it each year, is to remind council that it is a group audit. So we do have a group materiality, and that is because the operations, financial activities of the library are included in the financial statements. So we have what we would refer to as your township unconsolidated or your township proper. We then add in the library balances to give you your total consolidated financial statements. Moving on to the risk assessment part of the audit, again, very similar to what you would have seen in previous years. We have moved forward with a base level risk assessment on the areas of financial statements or the financial statement captions that have a higher likelihood of a risk of material misstatement. That is very consistent with peer group and industry. However, we have that top line, the one with the orange circle beside it, orange bullet beside it. It has the check mark under risk of fraud, as well as the red significant risk rating. So as a reminder, I've said this in past years as well, but typically the check mark under fraud risk always gets a little bit of attention. That management override of controls is what's referred to as a presumed fraud risk. What that means is those Canadian auditing standards that guide how we complete our audits, they require the management override of control risk to be flagged as a fraud risk and at the significant risk level in each and every audit in Canada. So that is presumed. It's something that we're not able to change, and it is the same regardless of audit firm or industry or organization. If you get an audit in Canada, you will have this built in as a fraud risk and at the significant risk level. What that means, which is on this next page here, and I know that's a lot of words on the screen, but what that means is that because we are required to build it in as a fraud risk and at a significant risk level, is that we are required to do certain procedures, audit procedures in our audit plan to mitigate and reduce that risk down to an acceptable level. At a very high level, we get the GL for the year. We run it through a software system that's based on some predetermined but not disclosed criteria that we select, and then it provides generates a sample that we then vouch back to supporting documentation to ensure everything agrees and has the proper approvals in place. And certainly the takeaway for today is the very last line on the page. There are no matters to report, so everything looked as it should be. In terms of some financial statement highlights, so this is a screenshot of the statement of financial position, which is the balance sheet of the township. I'll just, again, touch on some of the highlights up here on the screen. One of the items that I will flag is we have the financial assets and then your financial liabilities. Please note, this is not separated between current and long-term. This is what municipal and public sector statements look like today. This is one of the items that is flagged later in the report around an upcoming standard. So that standard that's coming in fiscal 2027, it's actually going to change the form and content of the financial statement. So in fiscal 2025, as is presented, we'll see this presentation again in 2026. And then come 2027, we're going to see the presentation of the financial statements change to a current and long-term presentation that is mandated through the new standard coming in. As well, there'll be some other changes in presentation, but that is going to be the most significant one that we'll see. So wanted to just put that out there while we are looking at your balance sheet. So now I'll run through some of the numbers. So financial assets, you can have your cash there, still strong cash position, just under 8 million. Taxes receivable did increase in the year. However, as a percentage of the total levy is under that 20% mark. So that 20% mark is really the kind of barometer that we look at to make sure you are staying under. We did see over the COVID years that number creep up across the board, across all of our townships. So we are seeing that number slowly come down as we see increased effort going back into the ratepayers to get some of those collections more timely, go to tax sale if needed. So at a 19%, I would say you're well within average of what we're seeing across your peer group. And I know that is a continued focus for the finance team in fiscal 2026 and beyond as well. From there, we have the rest of your financial assets, so just over that $12.7 million mark. And then we get into your financial liabilities. A few things to note here: accounts payable and accrued liabilities, a pretty significant decrease year over year. So 6 million last year, 2.5 million this year. Really, that is just timing around year end, specifically around some large capital invoices that were last year as a payable, as well as the payment with the county. Last year was in payable, whereas this year it was paid before year end. So really just timing, even though it's a pretty dollar-wise, a pretty large change year over year, but nothing significant or unusual to note there. The other item I always like to just touch on briefly is the deferred revenue obligatory reserve. So that's the 692,000 this year, 1.4 million last year. That's where we see the unspent funds around OSIF, Parkland, and the CCBF. So those funds, as they are received, are kept on your balance sheet and only brought into your statement of operations once they are utilized. Any unspent funds do sit as a liability. That is different from the rest of the reserves, which we'll see in a second are a component of your accumulated municipal equity. The other new item, big ticket item to note on your financial liabilities is the long-term liability line is at that 6.7 million. Majority of that increase, or all that increase, is the $6.5 million loan for the fire hall that came through in year. Overall, net financial liabilities exceed the assets, so it is a net financial debt position of that $2 million. Again, just a note, this is not broken down between current and long term, so it's not that there is a negative working capital or a liquidity deficiency, specifically noting that that 6.5 million of the loan is a term loan. It is not all due in the next 12-month period, but it is still something that we did have some conversations with management around, just in terms of looking at options for cash flow, options for financing, and know that that's a conversation that council continues to have, both with themselves and with management. Last up there, rounding out the balance sheet, we have your non-financial assets, which are your capital assets and your inventory. So capital assets, single largest amount on the balance sheet here. The increase year over year is offset by the amortization. A significant amount of additions this year, so 8.2 million, offset by amortization of 2.7 is why we have that net increase year over year there. Overall accumulated municipal equity is just under 50 million, that 49.6 million. And that's where we see the reserves being built in as a component of your accumulated municipal equity. And if you have the full set of financial statements, note 9 would show you the breakdown of the reserves as well. Page 12 here speaks to the statement of operations. So again, just touching on some of the highlights here, we'll go through statement of operations maybe a little bit quicker. We have your revenues and your expenses. So in terms of revenues, a couple items to flag here, really taxation aligned with budget. We did have a decrease in some of the payments in lieu. User charges, government grants, license and permits, relatively consistent year over year. We did see a fairly significant decrease in investment income. That's mainly a function of rate coming down from some of those high rates that we saw in fiscal 2024, but as well, the overall average bank balance was down as well. So the combination of the two generated less investment income. And then the one that I also like to just note every year, the other, just because it has $1 million in it. So just to remind everybody, that's where the casino funds are recorded. So the vast majority of that other line is made up of the casino revenue. From an expenses perspective, the statement of operations shows them by department. So you can see the various departments listed out here. Note 16 shows them by segment. So that's where you see your salaries and wages, your materials, etc. Looking at both departmentally and by segment, nothing overly significant or unusual to note. We did have some increases in the protection to persons and property. You can see there we have a couple items on the side noted, mainly fleet maintenance and repairs. We also have the first year of amortization of that fire hall coming through as well. And then if you were to look at note 16, and again, looking at some of the changes year over year, biggest changes in the salaries and wages, mainly cost of living increase, very slight headcount increase as well. So overall surplus from operating activities, 238,000. We then add in the revenue and other capital items. Overall annual surplus of 1.869. That gets added to your opening municipal equity to bring you to that 49.6 ending municipal equity that we saw on the balance sheet. And I know that was quick, but we'll circle back and see if there are questions. The rest of the report is really more housekeeping in nature, so it will be relatively quick. So in terms of misstatements, uncorrected and corrected misstatements, we did identify a few items as we went through the report. We did bring to the attention of management, mainly timing differences. So just differences between current year and next year that will flush out on its own. So we did have a few items that were both qualitatively and quantitatively immaterial. So very happy to leave those uncorrected, and did not note any corrected items. So the financial statements that were provided to us to audit at the beginning of the audit are the final statements that have been provided to you here today. So again, that's a great testament to the quality of the books and records throughout the year and the internal reporting that you are receiving throughout the year, noting we had no corrected items at the year-end audit. In terms of control deficiencies, so we are required as part of the audit to get a thorough understanding of the internal control environment. To the extent we had flagged any significant deficiencies, we would bring them to your attention. Happy to share, nothing of the sort. We do throughout the audit process, identify what we refer to as other observations. So things that are more efficiency or best practice in nature. So nothing that's a deficiency, but just some best practices or other observations as we refer to them. So we have provided those separately to management, but certainly nothing of any significance to bring to your attention here today. As I mentioned, the current year had no new accounting standards, so there are no new accounting policies adopted. So other than the numbers themselves being updated, the notes to the statements are substantially the same as they have been last year. Other financial reporting matters. So the only other item to note, and I've mentioned and alluded to it a few times, we do have the new standard PS 1202 that will be coming in. It will be effective for the township's fiscal 2027 financial statement year. So we still have a little bit of time before we get too excited about it, but that is the next accounting standard that will be coming in that will have any significant change to the township. So we'll ensure to connect with management. I believe we have some webinars that are slated to come out for this summer just to get everyone thinking about what the new statements will look like. So ensure to include management on those. And then after that, page 17 speaks to, page 17 speaks to specific topics. So the rest of our required communications, as you can see on the right-hand side, nothing to bring your attention to. And then page 18 is independence, so speaks to independence. To the extent we had any factual or perceived conflicts, we would flag them to your attention. However, happy to say none noted there, so no conflicts to discuss. And then after that, we are into the appendices, which I won't go through in detail. However, I'm happy to take any questions on any of the appendices or the report or the audit itself. And I will stop sharing my screen just so I can see everyone a little bit better.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Any comments or questions from council? I know this is somewhat old hat, maybe not for Todd, but I know that he's watched for the last little while. But as always, we'd like to thank you for all the work that you do. We know that it's not always the most fun job by times to look for the needle in the haystack, but we're also very aware of how fortunate we are with the financial staff that we have here at the municipality, which makes things easier for everyone involved. So I'll call again for any questions that might be on the table. Any other comments, Mr. Treasurer? Do you have any last parting comments?
Through you, Mayor. No, nothing to add.
Okay, perfect. So you're getting off easy tonight, Katie. Thank you again for coming, and thank goodness there was no storm and we did not get cut off in the midst of the presentation. It makes things go a lot smoother. So thank you
It's
again.
a sunny day on all fronts.
Absolutely. And we look forward to seeing you next year.
Well, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. So we'll move forward with number 10, consent agenda, which goes to the adoption and receipt of minutes. So moved by Councillor Leclerc, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that the May 12th, 2026 council meeting minutes be adopted as circulated, and that the April 28th, 2026 Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes be received and filed. So are there any errors or omissions in those minutes or questions for the Committee of Adjustment? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Just a technical on the attendance for May 12th meeting. It shows staff present, Steve Donachie, Chief Administrative Officer.
Okay. We'll correct that clerical error.
It's just
Thank
a
you.
minor technicality, but just corrected for the records down the road someday.
Fair enough. Any other errors or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. Next item is staff reports, moved by Councillor Leclerc. Or, you know what? I think I've got this wrong. I think this is Mr. Councillor Robertson. Your signatures are very similar. Oh, my apologies. I apologize. This is Councillor Robertson moving and seconded by Councillor Kelman that council approves staff reports as recommended at the June 1st. I'm going to have to get used to this now. The 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting. So the staff reports are listed on the are on the agenda. So 12.1 through 12.5. This was at last week's meeting. If there's any comments or questions in regards to any of these items, now would be the time to bring them up. I have no hands up, so I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. Next item is number 13, action required items, zoning bylaw amendment, application D14 2026-005, civic address 1 Lone Tree Island. Moved by Councillor Robertson, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that council approve zoning bylaw amendment application D14 2026-005 for the property municipally known as 1 Lone Tree Island to amend the existing environmental protection CEP zone of the waterfront area of the property to an environmental protection special exception CEP-13 zone. That council further amend bylaw number 07-079, zoning bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands, as amended as per Exhibit F draft bylaw and Schedule CA to report number. There's no C? Oh. I apologize. There's no C, it's not CEP, it's just EP zone to EP 13 zone. So as amended as per Exhibit F draft bylaw and Schedule CA to report number 2026-032. Is it adding Cs?
It's adding Cs. It's adding the
Schedule A.
apostrophe is
Is
actually, yeah.
So I apologize. It's Schedule A to report number 2026-032 and that council grant 3 readings and final passage to the amending bylaw. So I think there's gremlins in our new system that makes things difficult from time to time. This is what we just discussed for the public meeting. So now would be a time that council members have an opinion or comments to make on this application, if not already made. Go ahead, Councillor Robertson.
Not a question, but really just a comment. The reason I asked the question I did around the age of the existing structures was to confirm what I thought, which was that this application will enhance the visual appeal of that particular piece of the St. Lawrence River. And for that reason, I'm definitely in support of moving forward.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Thank you for your application. Moving on to item 13.2, comprehensive report. Zoning bylaw amendment, application D14 2026-004, 161 and 164 Ivy Lee Road. So moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Leclerc, actually, for sure. That council approves zoning bylaw amendment application number D14 2026-004 to rezone the waterfront / docking area of the property municipally known as 161 Ivy Lee Road from environmental protection EP zone to environmental protection special exception 13 EP 13 zone, and to rezone the property municipally known as 164 Ivy Lee Road from rural residential zone to rural residential special exception 20. It's adding the Cs. And, yeah, I managed that one. So it's RR-20 zone in the township zoning bylaw number 07-079, and that council further amends bylaw number 07-079, zoning bylaw amendment zoning bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands as amended per Exhibit H.
Yep.
Recommended amending bylaw and Schedule A to report number 2026-034, and that council grants 3 readings and final passage to the amending bylaw. Discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
I apologize again for having to comment. I realize I'm coming in at the end of this application, but just in reviewing the material, I really wanted to make a comment around, I feel that there's a definitely technical compliance with all the requirements as noted. And for that reason, I would support the motion put forward. I would like to comment, though, that the one concern raised by the ratepayer directly to the west of the property in question, I hope there would be some consideration during the site control process to revisit the reorientation of the finger docks to maintain a more navigable channel between the two properties. I think as I reviewed it anyways, and I'll stand corrected because as I said, I'm coming in at the end of this process. But as I reviewed it, it looked like it would make things a little more congested the way the current configuration is. So I just wanted to put that on record. If that's an opportunity to do that, I think there should be consideration given to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments in regards to this application? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Foote.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. With regards to the traffic we spoke about coming off the Parkway, is it going to complicate Parks Canada if that becomes a busier entranceway? Do they care?
Parks Canada would own.
The Parkway.
Oh, you're talking about the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, not Parks Canada.
Sorry, I did say that.
I don't. Oh, our senior planner, Lindsay Lambert's online, and Lindsay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a noise check. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So as part of our technical review of the application, we did circulate the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, and they reviewed the proposal and met with the owner on site and provided comment back to the Township Planning Department that no traffic study would be required. And they didn't have concerns with the scope of the application. It is basically kind of recognizing the existing amount of parking that is already available on the site.
Follow up?
Maybe, but that was with regards more to parking on site, correct? The way I understood that.
But you're asking about traffic, right?
I'm asking about
About-
the right of way of using that driveway off the Parkway.
And
Is that going to complicate it if we ask the applicant to lean heavily on that entranceway and exit?
based on what Ms. Lambert just said, I don't believe that is a concern. Is that
Okay.
correct, Lindsay?
Yes, Madam Mayor, through you. Yes, that's correct. The Parks Commission was aware that there could be an increase in traffic using that secondary access as a result of the application. They're aware of the number of additional docks being proposed through the application and concluded that they didn't have any concerns or didn't require any further technical submissions from the applicant in support of their proposal.
Okay, great. It's just that we all are aware of the tight constraints in the village or hamlet of Ivy Lee. And if we have an out, which this driveway would provide us, then it would alleviate a lot of congestion or potential congestion in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. Thank you very much. 13.3, application to remove holding symbol and holding provisions from CT-28-H zone address 151 Fitzsimmons Road. Moved by Councillor Robertson, seconded by Councillor Kelman. The council further amends bylaw number 07-079, zoning bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands as amended per Exhibit F, recommending amending bylaw and Schedule A to report number 2026-033 to remove the holding symbol and holding provisions from the CT-28-H zone, and that council grants 3 readings and final passage to the amending bylaw. Discussion on the motion. Seeing no, oh, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, I'm trying to find the one sentence I was going to refer to. It makes mention in here that the township staff were using this hold. Is there any negative effect by releasing it? Or does site plan control take over everything from there?
Through you, Madam Mayor, site plan control, we're prepared to issue site plan control at this point in time. We have all securities in hand and all technical concerns have been addressed to our satisfaction. So that's why we're recommending that the H come off the site to allow the full development.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. Moving on to 13.4, moved by Councillor Robertson, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that council approve the 2026 Community Improvement Plan spring intake application for the property municipally known as 239 Back Street, and the amount of up to $8,997.50 as attached to Exhibit A to Planning and Development 2026-030, and that the council approve the 2026 Community Improvement Plan spring intake application for the property municipally known as 436 Lyndhurst Road in the amount of up to $2,001.05 as attached to Exhibit A and to Planning and Development 2026-030, and that the council directs staff to prepare a funding agreement for both approved 2026 spring intake CIP applications to be executed by the mayor and the clerk. Discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Mrs. Kelman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I don't have any questions. I'm delighted to see these two applications for two really excellent businesses in our municipality. And I would just encourage all of our business owners in the township that have work that they would like to have done to look at these applications in detail and consider applying, because there's lots left in the pool.
Ditto. Before I call the question, I'll just say that I was approached by another municipality within the United Counties as part of a challenge with a community improvement plan that was in their municipality. And in that particular municipality, there's more limitations on theirs. It has to be just within settlement boundaries. So if you're like 100 feet outside of, like, I'll use the example of Rapid Valley. Rapid Valley would not be considered under the other municipalities' plan, but in our plan, we could consider it because there is a provision in there that gives us that leeway. So I'd just like to say thank you to the staff for having foresight to realize that not all businesses are within just the settlement boundaries that need our help and could utilize this type of a program. So anyways, with that grandstanding, I would call question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. 13.5, consolidated financial statements, moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Leclerc, that the council approve the 2025 audited financial statements, consolidated financial statements, that the council approve the 2025 audited trust financial statements, that the council approve the transfer of $441,316 from the working fund reserve and $147,105 from the contingency reserve to fund the 2025 deficit of $588,421. Discussion on the motion. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Robertson.
No discussion. I just wanted to thank those who prepared the documents because I had many questions, but they were all answered as I dug through all of the documents. So just wanted to offer that. Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? I will just say that this is one of the first times that we've had a deficit in quite some time. And that is through no fault of staff or council. I think we do the best we can to plan for the rainy day scenarios and some of the challenges that we might face. So I'm grateful for the future planning that was put into place long before this audit came forward, that we had funds that we could access to help offset this, and that we still remain in very good standing to move forward with our plans coming in the future. So thank you to the staff for that. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. 2025 capital year-end report and capital reserve funds update. Moved by Councillor Leclerc, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that council approve the capital carry forward budget of $1,801,600 tax funded and $3,113,400. I'm having trouble. $3,113,400 water and wastewater funded as detailed in the 2025 capital year-end schedule as attached to Corporate Services Report 2026-019. Motion is on the floor for discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. When we went down this road with the, this is the same title involving the support water tower, or is it different? I didn't look for it.
It's different.
It's
So,
different.
Yes.
Okay. I'll leave my question. Thank you.
Is there any other questions on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. 13.7, appointment of counselor to Leeds County OPP Detachment Board, moved by Counselor Kelman, seconded by Counselor Leclerc, that report administration 2026-016 Leeds County OPP Detachment Board Council Member appointment be received, and that the Council of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands appoints Todd Robertson as the council representative to the board for the remainder of this council term. Discussion on the motion. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Thank you very much for wishing to continue to be a representative for our municipality on that board. It actually will save the taxpayers a little bit of money in training and what have you, because you've already been trained. You're already up to speed, and we'll keep some continuity on the board. So thank you again for willing to stay on there. Next item is 13.8, restricted acts of council in the mayor after nomination or voting day, lame duck. Moved by Councillor Leclerc, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that the council give bylaw 2026-028, being a bylaw to delegate during restricted acts period, lame duck, first, second, and third reading and final passage. So the motion is on the floor, and this was a tough report. So if anybody has questions, please feel free to put your hand up. Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I always appreciate our clerk, but when I read this over and over and over again to try to understand it, I really appreciate it. I still don't completely understand it. I think we'll just work through it as we come to different deadlines, but I really appreciate having it in place.
It's taken me a bit of time to understand it, and I've been around for 8 years. So,
Same.
Are there any further comments or questions? Go ahead, Councilor Robertson.
Again, this is the new guy question, but who come up with the moniker lame duck?
That is a great question, and I have no idea. We'll have to maybe Google that.
That's very unique.
Yes, isn't it? It's been around forever, but yeah, that is a good question. I don't know where it comes from. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. Okay, 18th century. Oof. That is definitely, yeah. So we're going to move forward with 13.9, Joint Compliance Audit Committee 2026 Municipal Election Recommendation. Moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Leclerc, that council give bylaw 2026-029, being a bylaw to delegate the authority to solicit and select members of the Municipal Election Compliance Audit Committee to the municipal clerk and the clerk of the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, first, second, and third reading and finally passed. Final passage. It's a weird wording on that one, but anyway. Any discussion on this particular motion? I think it's pretty process oriented. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Next item. 13.10 RFT-OPS-2026-006 Black Rapids Road Bridge Rehabilitation. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley. The council approved the $111,000 in additional capital budget for the Black Rapids Bridge rehabilitation to be funded through the Bridge Reserve, and that the council approved the award of tender OPS-2026-006 for the rehabilitation of the Black Rapids Bridge to G. Tackleberry and Sons Construction Company Limited in the amount of $367,213.61, inclusive of the net HST. Motion's on the floor. Discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I just wanted to note a number of residents in that area reached out to myself and to Councillor Antoine Hartley with concerns about this project. specifically environmental concerns, because the bridge is going to be substantially wider than it is now, mainly to accommodate if it had to be used as an EDR. And I really wanted to thank our manager of roads and infrastructure, because he and a representative from Greer Galloway took time to meet with some of those residents on site to discuss their concerns with them. And there's been lengthy emails exchanged explaining everything. And there was some changes to the project made because of some of the concerns expressed, a lot to do with turtles. It's a turtle nesting area. So it is still going to be widened. And even today, our Mr. Hatton was explaining to me again how an EDR is decided upon. It's a case-by-case basis. It's not a set route, which I was not aware of prior to that. So I just wanted to thank both Mr. Hatton and the representative from Greer Galloway to addressing all of those concerns, because I think it made a big difference.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? And we do have Mr. Hatton on the line here tonight, so thank you for being here to answer any questions, should anybody have one, which I do not have their hands up. So I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. Moving forward with 13.11 RFT-OPS-2026-007 Water Storage and Booster Pumping Station. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley, that council approve 2.1 million in additional capital budget for the water storage and booster pumping station to be funded through construction debt. That council directs staff to proceed with obtaining a construction loan for the water storage and booster pumping station construction. That council approve the award of the tender OPS-2026-007 water storage and booster pumping station to Dalcon Constructors Limited in the amount of $6,598,834.79, inclusive of the net HST. Discussion on the motion. I believe Councillor or Deputy Mayor Fody, that's the one you wanted to ask about.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I'll use the same words I was going to use a while ago. When we started down this road a few years ago, a lot of things were coming together and aligning themselves, with the growth of the village being number one, that would prompt this to be a real reasonable requirement. I should ask, is there anything changed as far as the development in the village? There's nothing concrete taking place. I mean, these developers were given approval after meeting all the requirements. How long ago? 2 years ago in May, or was it 3 for south of the track? I know it was quite some time. I don't need an exact date. But my point is, because of all the things that have happened globally, and you could pick them all off and, fill a paper with them. My point is, a lot of things have changed. And what scares me is the amount of money involved in this project now is going to land on the backs of 200 residents and businesses in the village of Lansdowne. It states in this article that, the municipality will be responsible for. That's nicely worded. It isn't the municipality. All the water and wastewater comes down on the backs of the users, every single bit of it. And I've been thinking long and hard about this, and I read this particular document here about 5 times on the weekend. I have no problem making a motion that we cancel all of this right now. There will come a time again when we would like to see this come back into play. I realize we were given grant money on this a year ago this month, if I'm not mistaken, when our MPP Steve Clark came here over and with a number of people present that day. That's all well and fine, but that's also tax money. I mean, it sounds great to get that grant money. It didn't fall from the sky. But I don't want to see the amount of money that's sitting in this document here tonight put on the backs of 200 connections in the village of Lansdowne. They can't sustain this. Not with the economic environment that's already drowning most families. It's just too much. There isn't an out. We can't do a pitch to the people in Lansdowne and say, well, we're going to have 100 houses next week and 300 next year. We thought that's where we were going 2 or 3 years ago. It didn't happen. It may happen. Hopefully it would happen. But it's not happening. And until that does happen, I would make a motion. But before I do that, I'd like to hear comments from my colleagues. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Antoine Hartley.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did I not hear that part of the reason we needed the storage was because if we had an emergency for fire reasons, that we didn't have the capacity to make, to fix, to whatever.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
we didn't have the storage capacity to make sure that we could keep our residents safe.
Okay, so we have a representative from JL Richards who's online who can answer that question. Susan?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So I was the kind of the Class EA lead throughout the preliminary studies for the storage project. And what we were able to find with the Class EA and also the design process was that there is a lack of firefighting capacity. So the treated water that are used for fire protection is lacking in your system. So that is a health and safety concern from our perspective, and that's written in the PUSIP funding application as well.
Thank you. Other comments or questions at this point? Okay, I'll have the CAO add something and then I'll go to you, Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, through you. Just to add to that, we do have a finite capacity of water in terms of accommodating growth. Well, there is a draft approved subdivision south of the tracks. We did limit the number of lots that could be draft approved because of that limit on water. There are some other proposals for development currently within the area that we don't actually have applications for right now, so I can't say timing on them coming forward. But in the absence of improvements to the water system, every application that comes through, we're ticking away at our finite capacity in terms of the number of units that we could approve.
So by not moving forward with this project, and if memory serves me correctly, with that draft plan of subdivision, they wanted significantly more than what we could promise them in order to get going. They wanted 120 and we didn't have that capacity or more. It was more than that. So part of the challenge is the chicken and the egg thing, is that they won't build because if they don't have enough capacity to start building, they can't afford to put in the other infrastructure like the roads and what have you, because they need to build so many. So part of this is the firefighting capacity and the challenge with the looping. That was another item that was identified for water pressure, but mainly because we can't grow, we can't add anybody to it without, we're severely limited based on what we have capacity right now. So I'll go to Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. My question is more around, and again, I'm coming in at the bottom end, but the grant, that money that was received, if we were to not move forward, what happens to that grant money?
It goes back to the province.
And secondary, if I may, is that a regular process that an application can be made for that grant, or was it more of a one-time process? Or
So the province comes forward with these tranches of money that are available, and often they change names and what have you. And like one might be for recreational facilities, one might be for water, wastewater projects. I know that the HUSIF grant program was highly sought after through multiple municipalities, and we were fortunate enough to get a piece of that pie. It's not to say that we would not be successful in the future if we were to apply again. However, if we send it back, it's not a positive thing for the municipality either. So go to the CAO.
Thank you. And through you, the report also indicates that we're still pursuing other grant source funding if there are opportunities that become available. So we're hopeful that there may be some. I believe that there's still a federal grant that's outstanding. So we're still seeking funding.
Okay.
thank you.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. With regards to the grants, they come with a little catch. it's calculated the grant money based on the whole project, which we received X amount. But it states right in there on every grant, any excesses and expense up and above that, it's all yours. The grant doesn't change. And this is a classic example of that. The costs are going up, and they're going up pretty quick. I understand the whole and the firefighting issue. I get that. The chief and his well-trained officers, they can stick up these, what do you call those portable water tanks? There's a name for them. Thank you.
Through your worship, porta tanks and the tankers and the porta tanks.
All right. Thank you. So we can get around the water pressure issue temporarily. I mean, if we had a major fire, like a half a village or something, God forbid, it'd be a different story, but we'd have a lot more fire departments to help us out. So there are ways to get around some of this. What we can't get around is who's responsible to pay the bill. And that's what really sticks in me. I was all for this 3 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe 6 months ago. But here we are around to summer again, and there's no shovels in the ground on these lands that have been given a go ahead. I maybe fully understand after being at Roma conference when Monique Antoine Hartley and I sat side by side, and the president of the Ontario Home Builders Association was asked the question, and I still remember it. It rings loud in my ears. He said, I'd be glad to answer that. He said, in 2023, we built approximately 83,000 homes in Ontario. In 84, we built 84,000 homes in Ontario. Sorry, I'm missing a year. I should have said, referenced 2022 and 23. No, I am wrong. I'm mixing myself up. So it's 23 and 24, excuse me, for those two references, 83,000 homes per year. In 24, the year just finished, and he's speaking the next month, they built 17,000. It fell right off the table, the amount of home, or maybe it was 14,000, was it? It was a very low number. And he said, if you want to know why that happened, then you can feel free to ask the three ministers to my left who provide the housing for that building. So it was a little bit of a setup. It wasn't meant to be, but the way it turned out. And this is the position we're in tonight. When he made that statement, I was pretty much in shock listening to him, but then it made sense, total sense as to why our village and many others may be waiting for the same green light to go on hasn't happened. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I thought a federal provincial announcement, joint announcement about a month ago or more, when they agreed to cover the HST on homes up to $1 million, might have made a difference. And if it has, it isn't showing up yet, but things like this take a little while to take traction. But as a person who knows a lot of people in this village, I cannot support this the way it is. There comes a time when we have to stop and realize what we're doing and what we're doing to people. I mean, we all know that federally, fiscal prudence isn't even a topic. Provincially, it's just about the same. But when it comes down to us, we're sitting here tonight and we can see the houses that are going to be picking up this tab. I think we could do it a little differently. I don't have any problem getting grant money given back. We could ask for it again another day. We may not get it. But what would scare me more is to go ahead with this number. If this was spread out over the whole township residents, this number is awful close in total sum to the fire hall we built. That was spread out over every taxpayer in this township. We're going to take just about the same amount of money and we're going to hand it to 200 connections in the village. That's pretty scary. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Antoine Hartley.
Through you, Chair. Have we done the breakdown of exactly how much it would be to each household? Because that might help us all make a decision. And over what period of time? We obviously wouldn't be asking like on the next tax bill for it too. Would it be over 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, etc.?
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. So the potential for the debt servicing was definitely included in the water rate study. That was approved, is that April?
Yes.
Not good with timelines. So this is increased over that. The report does speak to that. In the water rate study, it contemplated about 220,000 annually to service the debt on that. Based on the current numbers and the tendering, that number would be about 275,000. Currently, there's about 300 hookups that do contribute to the user rates. I don't know the specific number off the top of my head, but the 220 was factored into the 10-year rate study, which projected increases of 5% annually to the user rates.
So you said the increase is going up to 275,000
Approximately. Yes.
approximately. Okay.
That's the total debt service and not the increase.
Yeah. So based on simple math, $55,000 divided by 300 hookups, it's $183 a year divided by 12. It would further increase per month by $15.27. That's the math.
But yeah, through Mayor, I would just say it was captured within that projected 5% increases that were in the rate study. It'd be slightly higher than that, obviously now, but
The other thing that could be contemplated through a choice of council is the funds that come from the casino can be allocated whatever way we want. So we could potentially look at that. I guess my thought process is that if we choose not to move ahead with the project as presented, it's not going to get cheaper if we choose to put it off. It will, if there's no shovels in the ground now, there certainly won't be in the future. It will limit to the infill lots that we have, because when builders go to look at scale, they want to be able to put in a certain number of homes in order to make it profitable for them. Part of the reason that housing starts dropped drastically in 2024 was because of interest rates, because they went up about 2% over what they had been. So builders had their margins shrunk to the point where it was not profitable for them. So we've definitely seen a bit of an uptick since the HST, and now that we've seen interest rates start to creep down. So I think the main things that have been discussed here tonight around the table is the safety purpose, and I understand your porta tank argument, Deputy Mayor Fody, but the issue is that when the fire happened on the farm west of the village, we drained the water tower in how many hours, Chief?
Through you, approximately 4 and 5 hours.
Okay. So it isn't necessarily the fact that we can't go further for water. It's that there's no water left for the people that are in the village. It doesn't regenerate fast enough, or that we need additional storage capacity for that. So while it's safety for firefighting services, it's also pressure and looping. That was part of the challenge, because the original installation wasn't done correctly. But without having the additional storage facility, it will severely limit any future development. And it becomes a chicken and egg thing, because if we put it off, it's not going to get cheaper. So I think there might be other creative ways to help offset it, but I understand your position, that there's only so many people on the water bill that get the water bill that are responsible for it. But if that's the case, there will only be 300 people. There won't be development that can happen, because we won't have the capacity. So it will always be borne by those 300 people instead of 350 or 450 that might be added, or God, let's hope 600 people, or 600 additional users, which I believe was in the report. That was the hope. Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Bear with me, but that is when it would get cheaper. If we had 600 or 800 homes tapped on that same water, that's when it would get cheaper. That was,
But we can't put those homes up if we don't have the capacity.
I realize that. But that's the whole chicken and the egg, as you referred to. And with regards to the barn fire, as unfortunate as that was, do the hook up the 300, you say, in the village? Would that be an easy sell to them to say, we're putting this up because we need you to pay more to look after neighbors who might have a fire? That's the whole problem right there. We've got a very finite group of people picking up a very large tab of which we don't have a clue what the future is. A few years ago, it looked like it was all coming together very nicely, and it may yet. I would really hope that it would. But if it don't, these 300 hookups right here will know all about it.
Are there any?
I won't beat a dead horse, but that's my position on it.
Councillor Robertson?
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship. As you were speaking, a thought came to mind, and again, it may end up being a stupid question, but is there any opportunity to recoup some of these costs through development charges down the road? So you speak of additional people coming in, and I think from an ideological perspective, if the enhancements are being made to entice people to come in and build homes, or to enable people to come in and build homes, then perhaps they should share some of the cost of the enhancements that are being made that allow them to build the homes and make the money, and et cetera, et cetera.
It's a great question. Go ahead, Sia.
Thank you. Through you. So we did start a development charges background study a couple of years ago, but we didn't have the population projections to advance that work. So that's been put on hold. We closed that contract out. The counties is currently working on population projections. So I think they're coming forward before the end of the year, potentially, possibly early in the new year because of the election. Once the United Counties has council approved population projections, that is something that we could bring forward as a possible future budget item. There is the potential to recoup development charges. Obviously, it's somewhat limited through some of the changes that the provincial government has made, but that's something that would be looked at through the background study. So that is definitely something that council could look at. The other thing I would note is that any subdivision that comes in or growth that does come in, if they're putting new infrastructure and building new roads, that's 100% at their cost. So their connection to the system, they have to put in that infrastructure. But development charges would be in addition to that, and that's a way to help growth pay for growth.
Okay. Any further comments or questions in regards to this item? Seeing none, I'm going to call a question. All those in favor of the motion at hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? Okay, and it is carried. Next item on the agenda is 13.12 Memorial Bench for Dr. Briggs. Moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that council approves the placement and installation of a commemorative bench for Dr. Briggs located at the Sealy's Bay Harbor, and that the location be subject to the final approval of the CAO and Manager of Infrastructure and Environmental Services. So motions on the floor.
Sorry, through you, Your Worship, can I just say something? We did just change a word from memorial to commemorative, just so everybody knows. Yeah, I know.
I know, but maybe it was published as memorial. It was
It was published as memorial.
He's not gone. She's still with us and alive and well. I saw her on Saturday. Thank you for making that clarity. Okay. So thank you for that. Any discussion? Sorry, Councillor Leclerc.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, I'm absolutely in support of this, but it did just highlight that I don't believe we have a naming policy. So I feel like, I don't know if there's opportunity to look at that, but it could be really helpful in the future.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through you. I was just going to say, if that's something that council would like staff to work on, well, we can do it. It would be helpful to have a resolution to provide direction to do so.
So maybe at the next committee of the whole, bring in a notice of motion forward. That would be great. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. And I saw the bench. It's quite lovely. It was in the downstairs before he went upstairs at Sealy's Bay. I'm sure she was quite pleased with how it looks. Next item is information items. Sorry, staff reports for information. There are no staff reports
Building
for,
reserve fund.
it's in the wrong spot. This new program, honest to gosh. Anyways, staff reports for information, under information items, moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that the information items be received and filed. So under the information items is the 2025 Building Revenue Expense and Reserve Fund Report, and it's provided for information purposes only. And so this would be the time if anybody had questions about that report. No questions on this one? Okay. Call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it's carried. 19.1. Wait here. These are all the bylaws. So there's a number of bylaws. Got 19.1.
It should be 16 though, statements and moved by counselors first.
Oh my gosh, I got way ahead of myself. I apologize. Announcements and statements by counselors. My apologies. Does anybody have anything to say this week? Go ahead, Councillor Antoine Hartley.
So I'd just like to give an update on softball in Sealy's Bay. We've been attending every Wednesday, the last couple Wednesdays, a group of very excited parents, grandparents, community members, people that are just driving by and saying, what's going on at the park? So it's been really lovely. Special thanks to Jessica and Patrick Morrell, who and their volunteers who have managed to round up about 65 children in two different age groups, and it's so enjoyable to sit and watch. Pardon me? And you can eat ice cream too. I was going to say that. Yes. And I especially appreciate the staff that are working late and stay a little bit later, because the last of the games aren't over until 8, and they're there a few minutes later to make sure that I get my chocolate fudge ice cream, which is adding to my scales. But thoroughly enjoying it. And so thank you very much to all those involved in volunteering, and to the township for helping to support that.
Okay, any other announcements or statements by councillors? Go ahead, Councillor Leclerc.
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of the volunteers for the another successful Schoolhouse Jam at the Rockport Rec Hall last Saturday. So lots of effort put in by a lot of people, and thanks again to everybody.
Thank you. Any other statements? Go ahead, Councillor Robertson.
Just had the pleasure of attending the seniors recognition event, and it was extremely well attended. It ran very smoothly, and a lot of smiling faces were there, and also very nice to have your remarks, Mayor, as well as MPP Clark.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. So I'll do the mayor's update. I'll try to be brief. I want to say thank you very much to Deputy Mayor Fody for stepping in while I took my first vacation, real vacation, in 2 years. So I appreciate you taking that on. And was hitting the ground running as soon as I got back on Thursday morning. And we had our seniors appreciation, as Councillor Robertson indicated, and Councillor Antoine Hartley was also there. It was great to see so many folks out. We honored Wilhelmina LaSalle as our outstanding senior of the year. But I think the main thing that I noted that particular day is that so many individuals that I've known most of my life that have touched so many different organizations, whether it be the Fair Board or whether it be teachers, or I had one of my boss at the Ontario Travel Center. There's so many wonderful individuals who don't stop giving despite their age and whatever they can contribute. It was a bit sad to not have Joyce from Sealy's Bay who was not able to attend as she's recently moved into long-term care. But you got to give a lady at the age of 98 credit who continued to do whatever she could to help her local community out until the very last day before she left and is now settling into Rita Crest. And so her daughter was there to accept on her behalf. So that was lovely. So the nominees were Wendy Merkley, Kay Webster, and Joyce Fleming. Just forgot her last name. Anyways, there's many more deserving folks in the community, but those just happen to be the ones that were nominated this particular year. So just keep that in mind that every year there is that nomination process. So anybody who can nominate and put that forward. Also the bursary winners that came through on the committee of the whole. It's always great to see some of our young folks that are going to onto post-secondary education. Just in that vein, the upcoming graduations that I will be attending on behalf of the municipality to recognize our graduates from the township and surrounding areas. It's one of the favorite things I get to do is to recognize those who will hopefully scatter and come back. And I say that in my speech because often you need to leave to appreciate what you have. Some people don't, and that's okay too. But based on my recent travels, I'm very happy to be home in the space that I specifically have taken for granted because where I was definitely confined for space. Also, congratulations to the Lansdowne Agricultural Society, a very successful rodeo that happened the weekend before I left. Very excited to see what the financial results. And I say that not because I need to be in their business, but I also know that whatever funds they make off the rodeo, they put back into the grounds and back into the Lansdowne Fair as well. So it benefits everyone. Also, the Schoolhouse Jam, I was unable to attend on Saturday as I had a celebration of life and Dr. Briggs celebration. I don't want to call them appreciation. I almost said memorial. Poor Dr. Briggs. I guess the parting comment I would like to make was in regards to Dr. Briggs' retirement. Councillor Kelman and Councillor Antoine Hartley were there, and Councillor Antoine Hartley was the MC. There had to have been at least 200 people or more, at least. It was incredible to see so many people out. But I think the real incredible part was the new doctor who's taking over Dr. Briggs' practice, Dr. Tariq. I think he was sort of deer in the headlights. Like, he has joined the practice. He's been there operating for about 4 weeks now, doing the transition. He's such a lovely, lovely human. And he's he's visibly excited about being here, which is really cool. But I think he was blown away with just the way the community came out for Dr. Briggs. But it speaks so much about her genuine capacity to care and be invested in her patients, making sure that they get what they need when they need it. So she will definitely be missed, but it doesn't sound like sounds like she might be keeping her toe back in the water. So some of her remarks that she made, which is great for us as local folks. But I also, part of my remarks at that particular event were that we're very fortunate in the area in which we live to have the FO, so the family health organization that we do, where Gananoque, Sealy's Bay, and Lansdowne all work together for after-hours clinics. So if you're fortunate enough to be on the patient roster, if you need after-hours care, you can usually get something there. However, the last thing I will say about that is that we did have a group of physicians who visited from the UK the last week of May. Through the program that's being worked through the United Counties. So they visited everywhere throughout the United Counties. There was only 3 doctors this particular time. However, we had great interest in the medical clinic in Lansdowne. So we are working hard to see if we can secure another person. So stay tuned on that. My hope is that we will see some fruit of that, but that program continues on, bringing other UK docs over. Their system is very different. Our doctors here see between 15, on a real crazy day, 20 patients a day. They're seeing upwards of 35 a day. So they are really exhausted, and patient care, they're concerned, patient care isn't quite the same there as it is here. So, and let's be honest, living in Canada is not a horrible place to live. So it's a pretty good place to be and raise a family. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed on that. And I think that's everything. Oh, and Ribfest is happening in Gananoque on the 26th, I believe. It's the Friday night that opens. So if you like ribs, if you like entertainment, if you like all the fun stuff, bring the family out. It's a great event. And I think that's it, unless I've forgotten anything. Okay. No closed session, so we'll move on to bylaws. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley, that third reading and final passage be granted to bylaws number 2026-026 through to 032. Is that okay, Madam Clerk? Okay, otherwise I'm saying them all. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Next item is Deputy Mayor Fody, moved by, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley, that three readings and final passage be granted to bylaw number 2026-033, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the corporation of the Township of Leeds in the Thousand Islands at its June 15th, 2026 council meeting. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. Next item, moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, is that council adjourn at 7:36 p.m. Non-debatable. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. And we are adjourned. Thank you, folks.